Why'd you have to leave? Where were you? Where were you?
When Thanos invaded.
Welcome back to StillerBros at the Movies, and today is a long awaited day. Ladies and gentlemen, the Eternals. I'm sorry, Eternals. Now we know where Suicide Squad got that "the" from.
Yes. So, James Gunn stole it when they fired him on his way out of getting fired. Anyway, we have Eternals. Now, this is Marvel's big push to something big.
So the Eternals mythology is one of those weird things, and so you know that Hollow Earth thing they keep talking about in Inside Job. You know the one, Inside Job, all that stuff. Or that really great show on Netflix.
Or that History Channel show, Ancient Aliens. Well, this is what, back before that existed, Jack Kirby thought, what if that was a comic book?
So essentially, the Eternals, the story of of Celestials, basically gods coming down from the heavens and experimenting with human genes to create a race of superhuman creatures that would eventually are the basis for gods. But because it was a comic book, Jack Kirby just needed to create creatures for them to fight. So when they experimented with humanity, they also created the Deviants, barely human monstrosities that would destroy, that were only meant to destroy. So the Eternals had to fight the Deviants and to protect humanity.
Now, Movie Bob has a whole thing about this, so don't come listen to us. Just go to his channel and check out stuff.
He's got a feature-length series of videos about all the Eternal stuff and what this could potentially mean for the MCU.
So go check that out. But we knew almost jack diddly about the Eternals until we saw those videos, which drove me to do something I don't usually do when going to see MCU movies, and I went online and I bought a graphic novel version of the comic book run.
The omnibus of the Neil Gaiman John Romita Jr. run, to be precise.
Yes, the 2006 version. So, and it is good, like really good.
It's this if I could give any criticism to it, it's very streamlined. It moves very quickly, but it's Neil Gaiman's typical style of quirky humor. It's very deep, even lore heavy, and yes, it is based solely in the Marvel universe. So it's definitely got cameos from some of your favorite superheroes.
It is but it is also steeped in the time period of 2006 Marvel, which was after Civil War. So there's that. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about this, which as far as we can tell is probably borrowing a little bit from that run.
But the architect of this particular Marvel movie is Chloe Zhao, an indie director who before this hadn't really done anything big.
But then last year she put out the biggest movie of her career, so at that point, which was Nomadland, which won her Best Director and Best Picture and got her nominated for several others.
And so for the first time ever, Marvel could put from Academy Award winner on one of their movies. Their next one will be Thor 4.
Yes, but they made Marvel look but when the Oscars came around, it made Marvel look pretty good because they had a finished, put together, all special effects and everything completed movie with an Academy Award-winning director, making them look pretty damn smart in retrospect.
So the big thing about this is that, one of the big things that have been talked about is that Chloe Zhao was actually called in to Marvel to pitch Black Widow for them. But she came in prepped for something completely different. She came in to pitched her own version of Eternals. And they liked it so much that they were like, yes, can you make this? Please. We'll hire the writers. We'll do it. Everything you want.
And they got this big epic that they have been advertising with a huge, amazing cast You've got Salma Hayek, Kumail Nanjiani, Richard Madden, Kit Harington, Gemma Chan,
Angelina Jolie.
That should tell you how big Marvel is. They got a star like Angelina frickin' Jolie.
It's basically like they picked names out of a hat. Pick an indie director on the rise. Chloe Zhao. Pick a random property. The Eternals. Pick an actor who it's weird that we haven't worked with yet. Angelina Jolie. Pick a Game of Thrones actor. Richard Madden. Pick a schlubby comedian that we can turn into a beefcake and it can freak everybody out. Louis C.K. Okay, we need to clean these out every once in a while. Okay, and Chris D'Elia. There. Kumail Nanjiani. Okay, that was a bit of a rush, so let's. That was a bit of a trip. So let's just get another one in there. Another Game of Thrones actor, Kit Harington. All right, we got a movie.
Yeah, and we have a movie. But one thing that is kind of against the movie's favor is Rotten Tomatoes.
Now we've cited Rotten Tomatoes as a nice goalpost every once in a while, but the problem here is that we haven't acknowledged that Rotten Tomatoes is not the scoreboard. Rotten Tomatoes is basically how many critics liked something, not what they thought of it.
It is an aggregate site. It is not something to set your opinion on.
If you actually look at a Rotten Tomatoes score, the full score, not just the tomato meter, you will see that there's actually a number of critics that are registered with having reviewed a movie and their average score. That average score is usually can basically mean that certain rotten movies could have averaged out by most critics to just be meh. Yeah, or something like that, or something along the lines. And also good movies too, but in this case, this is the first MCU movie to officially be listed as rotten on Rotten Tomatoes.
But if you look at the actual reviews that Rotten Tomatoes also has on the site, you will not see overly negative reviews. However, The Quartering and several other big conservative bullshit pop culture critics.
I get the feeling that their fingers are just hovering over the button to post this movie flopped hard video that they probably recorded like a month ago.
Yes, so they're obviously looking at what is to bitch about how a $1 billion movie is a movie that is probably going to make $1 billion. Don't quote us on this if we're in the future and it doesn't end up making that money. But our movie that was super successful still ended up being a flop, and how diversity and Get Woke sucks and Get Woke go broke, and I can't jack off to the new She-Ra, therefore the reboot sucks ass.
Yeah, these aren't exactly the kinds of guys that we like listening to. We don't even in fact, we've never even watched any of the videos of this particular group group of spore of fandom. So we
just see the thumbnails.
We see the thumbnails, and we just immediately tell YouTube not to recommend the channel. But we know that for a fact that they have a very, very immature problem with the fact that there is currently a Marvel movie that is only slightly more diverse than your average Power Rangers team, and
also is directed by an Asian woman.
Now we're not saying that these are all that automatically means that we are going to like this movie. We probably would have. If that movie was at a 6% Rotten Tomatoes, we'd probably still see it. And that is not just because we are really hoping to get our Gwenpool script in front of someone. Yeah, we were only half joking about that.
We were Marvel, call us, Kevin, listen, come on, do the right thing.
But anyway, yeah, Eternals. We've been looking forward to this for a while. And
when they announced in 2019, when they announced the lineup, this was the one that was on top of my list of movies I was looking forward to.
And it was mostly because the last time that it had been a director who has done some pretty itty niche work, a comic book property that nobody talks about a lot, and a pretty stacked cast combined of known and unknown actors. it was Guardians of the Galaxy, and it turned out to be one of the best movies of its era, of its phase of the MCU.
Yeah, so obviously that was what drew me to the idea. To get Eternals and to get now this acclaimed director and these amazing cast members in this diverse cast of people, including people of all shapes and sizes and sexuality orientations, and
the first deaf superhero, Marvel superhero,
and people from all over the spectrum of nationalities and everything, with Donnie Lee, a Korean action star, and Kumail Nanjiani, a Pakistani comedian, and Salma Hayek playing a Mexican American woman playing the lead.
It's just all there, and I hope it's good, and I hope it's fantastic. I hope the reviews are basically wrong on this.
Yeah.
I hope that we can look at this and be like, yeah, this is just pretty awesome, and this will be one of those things where the MCU triumphs over its first real case of adversity.
Not like it's gonna have much adversity though, because again, this is a multi-billion-dollar franchise, and it already broke pandemic records for the pandemic when it came to pre-sale tickets.
So anyway, we're gonna see it. We're gonna hope for the best, and hopefully you will too. So we'll see you guys after the gym. Bye.
Okay.
So to the 45% of critics who gave it a overwhelmingly negative review, enough that Rotten Tomatoes listed it as negative. What's your problem?
Yeah, that wasn't that bad.
It wasn't bad at all, actually. It was pretty normal. It was pretty standard good for Marvel, and also it was different enough that it's like, oh my god, you took a swing, and I think it worked out for you.
Yeah, it was pretty damn good. I enjoyed it a lot. I enjoy where it's going. I loved seeing it. I loved the fact that a lot of people were speculating when we were leaving the theater.
I love the fact that I got to for like a couple minutes after we were done, I was talking the comics lore with a bunch of guys outside the theater for the first time in a long time, and I'm just loving the fact that we don't know where this is going, and it's awesome.
Yeah. So let's get a little bit into it. Chloe Zhao made one of the most visually interesting Marvel films in a long time.
She made basically. People are constantly complaining about the Marvel assembly line, how they all look alike, how they all have this same visual aesthetic, how they are all lit and move the same. When first of all, not really. There's a few differences between there's very clear differences between a few of the directors, but second of all, Chloe Zhao shot this movie like a prestige movie.
And it took me until the third act for me to remember, right, Chloe Zhao is a giant nerd, and she is a big MCU fan, and this is exactly the kind of movie someone who's been a fan of these movies for 10 years would actually end up making.
Because remember, she pitched this. Marvel came to her for Black Widow, and she wanted this instead.
And you can tell, because there is love put into this movie, love for this universe and for all of these characters.
And it's amazing to think that we are going into part 2 of this, which they confirm after the credits is coming, is going to be magical.
Yes.
Okay, that was a weird word to use, but this movie is great. I loved the whole chunks of this are just. So, first of all, if you're going in expecting an action movie, you're gonna kind of get it, but it's also gonna mostly be. But you also need to be prepped that this is going to be a lot of people kind of sitting around and talking about the whole world that's going on.
It is a lot of exposition, a lot of philosophizing, a lot of talking theology.
But it works because these characters are well sculpted, and we've already been invested in the universe for 10 years.
Gemma Chan is pretty much the centralized character of this, and she is doing her all for this. It's so awesome to see her, but there's so many more standouts. Kumail Nanjiani steals every scene he's in.
Sorry for spamming you, by the way.
Yeah, sorry for spamming you on Twitter before the movie started, by the way. If you even got him or paid attention to him.
And Richard Madden creates this kind of very layered performance as Icarus. Liam McHugh's performance as a sprite is very complicated. I'm not saying she's bad. This isn't one of those complicated where I don't know how to, where I'm basically like, how do I tell this child that she's horrible? But no, she's great. She's great in the role. Well, everything she needs to do as Sprite is great. The character, I love the fact that they actually kind of played with the whole Sprite is basically a thousands of years old adult trapped in a child's body, trapped into a late childhood, early teenage body.
Yeah, we have Brian Tyree Henry, Don Lee, and Angelina Jolie all giving it their all. Angelina Jolie, it is impressive to me that she is involved in the MCU. It's kind of impressive to see her in this movie from time to time, where you're just sitting there and it's like, that's Angelina Jolie.
In a Marvel movie.
That is hard to believe.
Then again, she was one of the people that they were looking at that they were potentially looking at for directing Captain Marvel, but that's neither here nor there.
Yes.
And then of course there's Kit Harington. If you thought he was going to be in enough of the movie that you were going to be like, Kit Harington, Jon Snow, you did nothing, Jon Snow. Not really. He's there. It's fine. It's great that he is in there but he's not in it as much as you would think for all the pushing that they did when he. Let me point this out. Yeah, remember how Kit Harington was announced after everybody else at Comic-Con? That's pretty much it. That's pretty much why he is not in as much of the movie as the rest of the cast.
Not that that's a bad thing. He will have his time. We clearly will see. This is clearly the start of where his character is going.
The fact that they explicitly cast him as a character from the comics makes it very clear that they're not just going to, that he's not basically just going to be Chris O'Dowd from Thor or the Dark World. This is the start.
And we are moving in, and of where we're going, and we're moving in. Then we have some pretty fun cameos that we are not spoiling, but it makes us very excited for the future.
And stay through both post-credit scenes because they are big. They're not exactly pushing where the next piece of the MCU is going, but they are pushing where the next piece of this particular part of the MCU is, because these both are self-contained into this movie.
Yes. But I can kind of see but that all being said, I can kind of see why some people are dropping off of it with the fact that this is a dense movie when it comes to theology and philosophy and all this other stuff.
It's built on the back of a lot of mythology that the comics kind of told over the course of decades, or in the case of the Neil Gaiman books, which once again we believe at least a good chunk of these this is pulling some material from.
There was a lot of there was a lot of stuff that was obviously taken from inspired by the Neil Gaiman run.
And so it's got this mythology, but the criticism we can lay on those criticisms is it's not that complicated a mythology. If you've been following the MCU long enough, you kind of it's kind of told through a lot of context clues throughout, like the whole look, these people have been are the basis for all of the gods and myths.
Yeah,
is throughout the universe.
Yeah. I mean, Thor's real. Now we know that a lot of other gods are real, and that's obviously going to be setting up Love and Thunder.
And one thing I love, and I just loved little things like them explaining how it works, like how Kingo has been a Bollywood actor for over 100 years somehow, and all the cool stuff that's been going on, I love whole other things. Like, I love the Deviant's designs. They're effectively creepy. I love the design of how the powers work, especially Phastos' machines. They're fantastically realized.
We got so much cool. We get so much amazing lore, and we get to see where this what we could expand on this universe even farther than we have ever been before.
We're not saying we're better. We know better than a lot of professional film critics, but we do. But
we definitely know better than the guys who are review bombing this because there's two dudes kissing.
Because there's a scene of two dudes kissing, but I think it's just a case where if anyone who is already dismissing this movie because it's the first MCU movie to get a rotten on Rotten Tomatoes are going to be missing out on what might be the most unique piece of the MCU thus far.
And it is unique. It is different. It is incredibly expansive. It is an epic in almost every sense of the word, and
we're not even being Minnesotan, full-on Minnesotan when we say unique and different, as if as covers for bad. Once again, this is good. This is a good movie. This is a movie. It's maybe even great. Chloe Zhao did a fantastic job creating this. Unfortunately, it will not be Marvel's chance to push over the edge to a prestige Oscar movie, but
whatever. It is what it is. Obvious, but I loved it. I was not disappointed. I'm excited to see where this goes. The people we were talking to outside the theater were very excited to see where this goes.
Because honestly, if you're standing outside the theater theorizing about where part 2 is going, then odds are you liked part 1 enough to want to come back and see more. So
we're seeing all of this, and we're excited to see where this goes.
Especially if maybe we get to be a part of it. Hashtag StillerBros Gwenpool.
Hashtag StillerBros Gwenpool, please. We will write into you will cannot believe how much of a grenade this throws into our Gwenpool script. How much of a live grenade this throws in our Gwenpool script.
We've already cast it. We've already picked out an actress we want.
Yeah. We picked out a bunch of people we want in it.
Come on. You know you want it. Anyway, guys, I think that's it for right now. Eternals is fantastic. We're not planning on seeing it, but come on, you knew you were going to see it.
You're going to see it. It's MCU. You need to stick up. You need to get all the little puzzle pieces.
But anyway, be sure to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and don't forget to tune in next time when Bustin' makes me feel good. Bye.
Bye.